you really see things coming apart for Joe Biden, don't you? It's really, really going badly for Joe Biden. And we'll get to why that's making me a little nervous here in a few, but let's just focus on this. This is a news story out NBC News. NBC News, one of the top propaganda arms of the American communists, they're out there talking about Joe Biden behind the scenes, quote, seething about his reelection chances. He's angry. He's anxious. Joe Biden is in deep trouble, and that should put a smile on your face for 2024. Joe Biden is in deep trouble. And here's the thing about the kind of trouble Joe Biden's in. There's a good chance, politically, we're not going to talk about the election just yet. I'll get to that in a minute and some things that make me nervous. But politically, there's probably nothing Joe Biden can do to pull himself out of the trouble he's in. You know, it's one thing to fall into a raging river. Let's say some whitewater rapids. Only you've got a life jacket on and you're an excellent swimmer. So yes, you're in trouble and yes, you might drown, but you can see how that guy might be able to pull himself out of that some way, get to the shore. You could see that. But if you have no life jacket and you never learned how to swim and you go into the whitewater rapids, well, you're probably in very deep trouble. You see, Joe Biden doesn't have anything that can reverse the course he's on. He can't reverse his policies. Joe Biden doesn't make these policies. He's surrounded by committed communists who hate America, trying to burn everything down. So in an election year where he should secure the border, he very clearly should. Just electorally, he clearly should. He won't. He can't. He's not allowed. In an election year where he's supposed to dial back on some spending, hopefully get this inflation under control. He's controlled by communists trying to burn America down, trying to destroy the currency. So he can't. He won't. So he can't do that to save himself. And Joe Biden is in a uniquely horrible, but unique situation where his physical and mental capacity has deteriorated to the point that he can't rely on likability or charm, or like a lot of these politicians get very, very far on that stuff. And no, I don't like Joe Biden, but a lot of politicians get very far, no matter how much people hate their policies, on the hey, the smile, the joke, hey, seems like a good guy. Joe Biden, he just can't do it anymore.
I was very happy to see Northern Ireland's Executive Assembly reinstated last month. Now Northern Ireland is a fully functioning government again. And I didn't admit your colleague.
Look, I'm not even trying to be mean. He can't get up there and wow the ladies, charm the dudes anymore. He can't. He's not physically able. He's not mentally able. Look, let's talk about an inside baseball part of politics as we lay out kind of where we're at in 2024 and how bad of trouble he's in. We just had the State of the Union address. Now, let me explain how this normally works. I know you probably know a lot of this stuff, but let me explain how this normally works. When you're the president, doesn't matter who you are, Republican or Democrat, and you give a State of the Union address, you pretty much always, really, without exception, I think, for the most part of my lifetime, you get a bump in the polls. It's just one of those things everyone understands. Everyone who understands politics, all the political nerds like you and me, everyone gets that you will get a bump in the polls during the State of the Union address. Now, why is that? Well, you get to make a speech to the entire country. The networks stop their programming. Okay, so the whole country has to sit there. They have to listen to you. You look, as president, you look powerful. You look important. And you will normally, during the State of the Union speech, there's always political stuff in there. You'll normally kind of give this flowery, we're all in this together, America's doing so great things. So the whole country kind of sits there and watches you give this speech, and we're all in this together. And look, it's not life-changing, but you always get a bump in the polls from a State of the Union speech. It's just one of those things everyone understands. Except for now. Joe Biden gave his State of the Union speech last week, no bump in the polls. Now, why was that? Well, we'll get to that more, and we've talked about that already, so I guess we don't have to belabor the point. Why did he not get a bump in the polls? Because Joe Biden didn't, I guess I should say, get up and give that speech, the one I just described, the unifying, we're all in this together, America's doing great. Joe Biden has internal problems within his own party, within the support arms of his own party. Joe Biden had to give an extremely partisan, nasty speech because Joe Biden is too busy trying to keep his own team together. So his speech was nasty. He got no bump in the polls. I mean, you want to talk about keeping his team together and how badly that's failing. The Washington Post might be the most evil communist publication on planet Earth. And I really genuinely mean that. If you go through Washington Post history, it is a despicable, evil rag. But they're always on Team Democrat. The Washington Post is publishing articles about how Dome needs to step aside as VP. You want to talk about not keeping the team together? Washington Post, they're always playing ball. They're always on the team. Not right now. That's how badly it's going for Joe Biden. And a lot of this is economic. People, especially independents who can vote either way, they feel inflation, doesn't matter how many lies you tell them about the economy and how great it's doing in jobs. People look around, they shop, they know it's bad. So that's part of it. But another part of it for Joe Biden, another reason he gave that speech, but it's yet another reason he can't seem to move in the polls, is he has a domestic coalition problem, as we've talked about. Remember, Democrats are communists. Modern Democrats are. Not your older Democrats usually, but modern Democrats, they're all communists or communist adjacent. Even if they don't know they're communists, that's what they are. And so the modern Democrat Party, it's all a bunch of malcontented groups. That's, as you know, everyone who read the Anti-Communist Manifesto has known that the communism is simply the religion of the malcontent. That's what it is. Find the malcontents in any society, recruit them, use them for power to destroy things and whatnot. So the modern Democrat Party, when you look at their various coalitions, that's what their coalitions are. This group and that group, and you've got this and the teachers and the climate changes and the feminists, and you have all these people. But there has always been a problem coming for the American Democrat, and that is their groups don't make a lot of sense lots of the time. In fact, many times their groups look to be really at odds with each other. Here's one people don't talk about. The LGBTQ Air Force, that group of malcontents. The super freaks on the left. Okay, that's one group. Well, 90% of black voters in America vote Democrat as well, except that way of life is less popular in the black community than any other community. Those groups are at odds with each other. So that's going to be a problem eventually, right? And, well, Democrats have a Jewish/Muslim problem here in America as far as their domestic coalition goes. We've talked about this already. 2/3 of American Jews vote Democrat. They are huge fundraisers for the Democrat Party. The vast majority of American Muslims vote Democrat. Israel-Hamas kicks off. Democrats don't know what to do. They back Israel, they lose their Muslim support. They back Hamas, they lose their Jewish support. They're in such dire straits. They're so worried about losing Michigan because of the Muslim population in Michigan. Chuck Schumer got up and called for Benjamin Netanyahu's head.
At this critical juncture, I believe a new election is the only way to allow for a healthy and open decision-making process about the future of Israel, at a time when so many Israelis have lost their confidence in the vision and direction of their government.
I just want to once again emphasize what a gigantic deal that is. And you don't have to have any personal investment in Schumer or Democrats or Republicans or Israel or Hamas. You just have to understand world affairs and how it works. Israel is considered an ally of the United States of America. They're not some tiny little place we colonized. They're considered an ally. They are. You don't have your politicians stand up and call for the ouster of the politicians of your ally. It's just not something you would ever see done, ever. You would never see someone in the UK get up and give a speech today and say, it's time for Joe Biden to leave, even if that's what you want, even if that's what I want. It would never, ever happen because we're allies, so you don't do that. That was a gigantic deal. And it was not like some one-off with Chuck Schumer where he had one too many bourbons and got up there and ran his mouth. Here's all the most powerful Democrats in America backing that up.
I'm not going to elaborate on the speech. He made a good speech, and I think he expressed a serious concern, shared not only by him but by many Americans.
It's curious to me to see Netanyahu talk the way he does when he tried to interfere in American elections, but that's another subject. When he came to the Congress, criticized the President of the United States, barged into our country, into our elections. But again, let's put that aside and let's just say as we go forward, what is wrong with advocating for elections in a democracy?
He didn't just say it. All the big cheese Democrats backed him up. And remember, when you understand these people are communists who don't really care about foreign policy, they don't care anything about Hamas or Israel. This is all about domestic. That tells you how truly concerned these people are about holding together their domestic coalition. Put a smile on your face. We'll get to the potential bad news here in a moment, but put a smile on your face. All I see right now is desperation. These people are desperate.